Next, we're going to go back to our bag, and we should have two pieces. Don't need this yet. Two pieces of what are called gummed tape. Now, I realize it might be hard to see on the video, but one side is shiny, like this. It's reflecting the light. The other side is dull, okay? The shiny side is basically glue. If you get it wet, it activates it, and it dries, and it will glue onto, it's basically going to give strength to the body of our rocket engine, or the rocket body, I should say. So we should have two pieces, one that's short like this, and a long piece. Okay, with this, we're also going to need some water and a sponge. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put the sponge in the water. We're going to start off taking the small piece, and basically it is going to be wrapped around our paper just like this. Now yours will probably be a little bit longer, like you can see here, and that's okay. We can go back and trim it later, or if you really want, if you want to trim it right now, you can. Actually, I am going to trim it a little bit. Just like that. This piece I'll hang on to because I might use it later on. But now it's a little more reasonable. I can still probably trim that some more, but for right now I'll leave it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge. And we'll squeeze some of the water out of it. Okay, it should be damp to kind of wet, not sopping wet, it's not dripping. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to get the shiny side of our paper wet. We're going to lay this down. Now, I like to put the seam of where I roll the paper down first, but it really doesn't matter. Place that right in the center, and then bring the sides up. Kind of roll it down. Same thing. It should be on there nice and tight. Okay, not a lot of ripples, sitting there pretty flat. It might glue a little bit where it overlaps onto your wooden dowel, so if that happens, just kind of twist it to break it loose. There I go. So now that's part. And you can say, well, I've got this big streak here where I'm not covering anything, and that's what we're going to do with our long piece. Now, this is the harder part. Because what we're going to do is basically this is going to get wrapped around on an angle like this. Just like that. Now, I would do a dry run first where you check, will it work before you wet everything down? Because sometimes what people will do, if you don't get this angle deep enough, you'll start wrapping it and then it only goes down that may be an extreme version, but obviously that's not good. So if you kind of put it like this, think of it as like a right angle, and we wrap it, that should be pretty good. The whole thing is that you want to make sure it overlaps a little bit, and then we can get it all the way down to the bottom. So now if you miss like a little piece, you know, that's where like this piece that I cut off came in handy. So if I miss something at the top, I can wrap it right there, but this should be pretty good. So wrap it one last time. Place it like this. So once again, I take my sponge, maybe dip it in the water a little bit. And this time, instead of wetting the whole thing down at the same time, I would just wet sections and parts. Okay, the whole thing is I'm pulling this piece tight and I'm laying it flat on the table as I roll it, wetting it as I go. Pulling that tight. Like I said, the tighter we can get this with the less ripples, the better your rocket should fly. There we go, nice and even. There isn't big open spaces. Like if you have a big space and it's wrapped around like that, and you've got these big pieces, that's not good. We're probably going to trim those and lay them flat. But what I've got here is pretty good. It's sitting nice and flat. Everything's going to dry really well. This is where I can then remove my wooden dowel. I can take a pair of scissors and trim the ends. Okay, so you have this little tail here. Basically, if we go around and trim it, so it matches up with our paper. Then on this side, it might be a little more difficult. Trim that big chunk, and then I can kind of cut in. So on both sides I've got it pretty much lined up with the paper, which is good, and that's where we're going to stop. Now before you put this away, I realize your bag should have your name on it. I would as well put your name on your rocket. Now I would use a pen. Pen with this so it's large, and don't make it super small. You want to be able to have it large enough so people can see it. That way it doesn't get stolen, because at this point everybody's rocket, for the most part, should look the same. Trim those rest of the pieces up. Now this we can put back inside of our Ziploc bag, just like that. Seal it up. So this can go in our cabinet. And then as far as like these pieces, we just want to throw that in the trash. Basically just clean everything up, as in put this back in the bin with all the others. Same thing, put the glue bottles back up front, and scissors and everything else at your table needs to be picked up and put away.